They almost silenced the one warning they had. Freya Lindqvist worked as a graphic designer from home, which meant her days were built around quiet, noise-canceling headphones during work hours. A strict, no shrieking after 8, rule she'd half-jokingly established with Captain, their sulfur-crested cockatoo, since before her son Ezra was even born. Captain had always been vocal. That was simply what cockatoos were. Nobody in the house questioned it. Then Ezra turned 4 months old, and Captain's vocalizing changed shape entirely. It started as an escalating shriek every time Ezra fussed in his bassinet across the room. Loud, sharp, timed almost exactly to the rhythm of the baby's breathing, rather than his crying. Freya assumed it was jealousy, competition for attention, a bird unhappy about sharing the household's focus. She began covering Captain's cage earlier each evening to quiet him down before Ezra's bedtime, a compromise that seemed to satisfy everyone but the bird. Over the following week, the pattern sharpened. Captain would go completely silent for long stretches, then erupt to a single sharp call at what felt like random intervals. Never during crying, always during the quiet moments when Ezra was simply lying there. Freya's husband Anton joked that the bird had developed a strange new hobby. Freya laughed along, mostly, though something about the timing kept nagging at her in a way she couldn't quite name. On the 4th night, she nearly moved Captain's cage out of the nursery entirely. Tired of the disruption to Ezra's sleep schedule she assumed the bird was causing. Instead, that same night, Captain called out 3 times in rapid succession, louder than she'd ever heard him. At 2:14 a.m., Freya went to check on Ezra more out of irritation than concern, and found his breathing had gone shallow and slightly labored, a faint whistle audible on each inhale that hadn't been there at his last feeding. Ezra was diagnosed the next morning with early bronchiolitis, a respiratory infection common in infants that can progress from mild to serious within hours, often with subtle changes in breathing pattern well before any visible distress or fever spikes. Birds are remarkably sensitive to changes in breath, sound, and rhythm, the pediatrician told her. It's not officially documented the way a seizure-alert dog is, but there are enough recorded cases of pet birds reacting specifically to changes in a baby's breathing that we take it seriously. He wasn't competing for attention. He was reacting to something changing in that room that she couldn't hear yet. If you stay for stories about what animals sense before we do, you're exactly where you should be. Subscribe so you don't miss the next one. Freya sat with that for a long time afterward. Captain shrieking, timed to Ezra's breathing, not his crying. Not jealousy, a response to something audible only to him. The silences between calls. Then the sudden bursts. Not randomness, a pattern she'd simply never learned to read. She had built her entire week around quieting a warning system because it was inconvenient, and it took one bird refusing to be quieted to catch what she'd nearly missed. Has a pet ever reacted to something wrong with your child before you noticed it yourself? Tell us in the comments. These stories deserve to be heard. Captain's cage stays uncovered in the nursery every night now. Ezra recovered within the week, and Captain, for his part, went back to his usual noisy self, minus the strange 2 a.m. calls, which never returned once Ezra's breathing did. If stories like this matter to you, subscribe so you never miss the next one. The next story on this channel is about a dog who sat pressed against a grieving mother for 3 days straight, and what finally made her pick up the phone.